Greetings, my dears, in love and light. I'm Nikki Sutton. Now, I wanted to talk to you about authenticity and how to be authentic and why this actually matters. Now, we do take on roles in our life. We behave in a certain way at work. I am a mother and I behave a certain way to my children so that I can sort of keep things running smoothly. And we behave a certain way with different people, friends, different kinds of friends, different groups of friends we have, and perhaps with a partner. But the aim is to be more like your authentic self. Now, what the hell is that? What is my authentic self? And many people don't know, actually. Now, one way to know you're not being your authentic self is a slight feeling of resistance, so a slight feeling of being uncomfortable, a slight feeling of anxiety can indicate you're not being yourself, or observing that you are being a chameleon and changing around different groups of people. Or another sign is that you are actually isolating yourself, because being with people is actually a bit of an effort. Or another sign is that you are not enjoying being with your partner, and there's sort of resentments building up and you're not sure why everything is going downhill. It's because you've put on a certain persona, a certain mask, and behaved a certain way around them in the beginning, and you can't keep it up. So they're wondering why you're not the lovely, jubbly, amazing, perfect person, and no one is, by the way, lovely, perfect person you were in the beginning, and you're finding it tiring and you're feeling a bit shameful perhaps that you are different to how you were in the beginning. It's because you put on a mask, you put on a persona, and now your more authentic person is coming through. But again, this isn't authentic because it's full of resentments as well, and the other person's acting funny towards you because you've changed. So we often put on a mask when we get into a relationship, so it's good to be your authentic person, i.e. know who you are before you get into a relationship, because how are you going to keep it up? You're just going to want to isolate yourself. So we want to get to a point where we're not resisting aspects of self, and we want to be able to find out actually who we are. Who am I as a person? Okay, so number one on how to be authentic is to ask, is that really me? So how you behave in certain situations, the things you buy, the things you do, the things you think you should do because you've taken on certain beliefs and things. Ask yourself, is that really me? That's a good question. Is that really me? How do I feel about that? What's my intuition about that? Does that clash with my morals and values? Is that really what I want to be doing? So you can choose how to act and behave and match up with your morals and values and beliefs. A lot of people just go through life just swept up in this version of themselves, which is ever changing in different situations, and they just go with it. They don't consciously recognise what's going on, what they are doing. But you can recognise, look at the self, how am I behaving? Oh, actually, I've just been doing that because I've always done that. And actually, I'm not going to do that anymore. So become aware and ask, is that really me? And then we can get a bit more towards our authentic self. And number two is, as I touched upon, releasing resistance. So this is not accepting what is due to fear as well. So that's one sort of form of resistance. Now, when I say acceptance, so acceptance is the opposite of resistance, really. So when I say acceptance, I'm not saying to accept every situation, let people walk over you, let horrible things happen to you. No, you have boundaries. But what it is you're coming from a place of yes, rather than coming from a place of no. So resistance is where I'm coming from a place of no, negative emotion, can't deal with this, but I've got to. With acceptance, you're coming from a place of, yes, I accept this is happening. Yes, now how can we move forward? And you'll manifest better. So one way to be your authentic self is to release this resistance of what is going on around you and come from a place of yes, of acceptance. And then your sense of self can settle down without the negative emotions and just be more. You can just be. Okay, so this is what creates an authentic reality as well for you, because as I mentioned, you'll manifest better by coming from a place of yes. So your reality starts to become an authentic one, not one that you're manifesting coming from hurts and resistance. Okay, and number 3 means listening to your emotions. Now, this is really important on how to be authentic and why it matters. Listening to your emotions, because emotions are signposts, they're markers, they're messages from the subconscious telling you that you need healing. And what's the matter? You need to ask the emotions, what's the matter? So hurts, past traumas, negative programs that are written in the subconscious all happen during our life. They're all stored in the subconscious, and they're running in the background of our everyday lives. Now, daily we might experience this undercurrent of negative emotion, and it might pop up more some days than others. We need to ask those emotions why they're there and trace them back to their source. It may be something that happened to us which is causing us not to be able to cope with reality today, not allowing us to be able to deal with reality and move forward in reality today. For example, something may have happened to us that severely dented our confidence, and today we're finding it hard to function because we're feeling so anxious and unconfident. So if you're feeling that in your daily life, you need to figure out where that came from, where that first began, and you go back and expose it to the light of day, and you do inner work, and you can search my videos on those. So number 3 on how to be authentic is to listen to those emotions. They're signposts telling you what needs healing. They are there for a reason. So number 4 on how to be authentic is to stand by your truths and trust your opinions. Now, you may not be sure what your truths and opinions are, but once you've started deciding upon them, you've made the conscious decision that these are your truths and opinions, so stand by them. It takes confidence to stand by them, but as I mentioned in the last point, you're going to be working on confidence if that's a problem, aren't you? So you choose them and you stand by them, because it's a violation of your boundaries to let other people walk all over your boundaries and your truths and opinions, aren't they? So choose them, stand by them. Number 5 on how to be authentic is stop filtering yourself in relationships and with friends, because you can't keep it up. So as I mentioned already, if you present a filtered version of yourself where you only present some things, like the most optimal, nice, kind version of yourself, but really at home you get a bit sad once in a while, really at home you get a bit angry once in a while, or a bit frustrated, you have a bit of shame, things like that, things that need working on with the inner work that I'm always mentioning. If you're just presenting on an ongoing basis the most optimal version of yourself, then it can become hard work. Now, sometimes other people have a hard time accepting a version of you that isn't tip-top and perfect. But if you're more like your authentic self from the beginning, you can tell those who are going to ditch you for being more authentic. And you don't want people in your life that aren't going to accept you for who you are. Now, I'm not saying decide I am an arsehole, so I'm going to be an authentic, total arsehole to everyone, and they must accept me for that. Well, that's not reasonable, is it? So one needs to be as authentic as possible within understanding sort of social norms. You would want other people to be a certain way, a certain level of niceness, a certain amount of kindness. So if you want them to be that way, you be that way too. Now, this is obvious, but you can decide that as part of your authentic self. So be authentic from the start. Think, am I filtering myself? Am I not showing big chunks of myself, or at least just dropping hints of it? Because if I'm not, when I do, others might get a surprise and walk away from me, and therefore maybe it wasn't worth getting so close to them in the first place. It's hard to keep it up, so no more filtering. Well, filter a bit to the degree you find appropriate. Okay, so how to be authentic. Number 6 is stop being a chameleon. So this is a bit like filtering, but chameleon. I was once told that I was a good salesperson because I was a chameleon, and I was like, ooh. So this was some years ago when I was working for a media company in marketing. And when my boss said to me how great I was because I was a chameleon, it just shocked me. And I looked at that very hard because that's not something I wanted to be. And I found that with different clients, I transformed myself. I was all sweet and lovely and cute to male clients, and to female clients I was more of a friendship, relatable. Just depending on their demeanour, I would just change in order to please them. That was for the purpose of sales, and I don't think I did that in everyday life with friends or anything, but I didn't even know I was doing it. And you may not know you're doing it, and you may be doing it with friends and in relationships and things like that. And being a chameleon is changing depending on who you're with and in certain situations. Now, if we're constantly changing, it can be hard to know who we are. Is the me with this person the real one, or is the me with that person the real one? Is the me at home even real? It's hard to know. So we need to think about, it's shining the light of consciousness on it. That's the key. What is the real me? And we go back to point 1. Ask, is that really me? Yes or no? So no more being a chameleon. And being a chameleon, again, causes you to isolate yourself or avoid people because it's too tiring being with them. And it's hard to keep up the charade. So number 7 on how to be authentic is to find out what you dislike about yourself. Then you won't be hiding it. Okay, so there might a reason for not being authentic might be because we dislike parts of self, and therefore we're hiding it. I might dislike about myself that I am actually a bit cynical, let's say. I'm not saying that's true. And so I hide my cynicism. But over time it'll start to come out and it'll surprise people, you know. So look at what you, really stay present in that feeling. What do I dislike about myself? Then ask yourself, why do I dislike that about me? Is that something I choose not to be? Is it something that requires healing? Okay. So number 8 on how to be authentic is to find out what you're afraid of. Now, you may be presenting an inauthentic version of yourself, a persona, a mask, if you're afraid of something. So you might be afraid of humiliation, you might be afraid of being hurt, you might be afraid of failure, loss, doing something wrong, so that's shame. You might be afraid of certain things, so you act in an inauthentic way, which is not really you, in order to prevent this end result that might happen. And this is a fear. It's a fear of an end result, being humiliated, fear of doing something wrong, of messing up. So we need to find out what you're afraid of, and then figure out why you're afraid of that. So if I'm afraid of humiliation, it's causing me to act not myself. Why am I afraid of humiliation? When have I been humiliated in the past? Why was that so? Can I get understanding of why that happened and who are the players in that situation? And if it's likely to happen again, and the reasons why that happened, and if it was really my fault. So it's removing the burden off the self. So I'm afraid of being hurt in this relationship, so I'm unable to be myself. Why am I afraid of being hurt? When was I hurt before? Why did that happen? Is it likely to happen again? Let's say I was in a relationship with someone who was an alcoholic, and this person I'm in a relationship now is not an alcoholic. Is it the same situation? No. So then I can relax and be myself more. I can be more authentic more because I'm getting rid of the fear. Okay. So number 9 on how to be authentic and why it's important is to let go and drop the mask and the act. So that is the conscious realization of what we're talking about now. So just give it a go. Give it a go. It's a trial here. We're going to let go. We're going to consciously let go, drop the act, drop the mask, stop being a chameleon, see what happens. It's going to be a trial day. See how people react and see how you feel. It might be a bit shocking to some people. Maybe ease into it. Don't just change overnight. Just introduce this version of you that you want to be. I'm not saying go to work and express all your anger problems. They need working on. Okay. But you need to go into these situations being more authentic, balancing out what needs working on and that feels more like you. Is that really me? Question mark. and see how people react. Give it a trial day. So I hope you found that helpful today on how to be authentic and why it matters as well. And leave me and others a comment on what you think about being authentic and how you feel about others who are inauthentic and what helps you to be more authentic. And that will help everyone because we want to support each other, don't we? And don't forget to click subscribe if you're not already a subscriber to receive regular spiritual inspiration on your journey through life. Like and share also because we're raising the mass vibration together. So go now in love and peace.